Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's a sitting Supreme Court justice, okay, she's black. She's basically comparing black people to things, right? She said, well, hey, black people are still disabled, right? Black people like disabled folks. They need a handicap, right? They need a wheelchair to go vote. Hey, to have proper representation, black people need unfair treatment, proper from the government. It's been over 50 years. Over 50 years. And white Democrats don't want to support black folks, right? And hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But again, that doesn't mean that to get 50 years from the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, that doesn't mean that it's still in, right? I mean, at some point, right, we progress to a society in which we have a majority of the country voting for a black man to be president, right? I think that black folks should be able to appeal to other people outside of black people, right? I think it's a problem. It would be a problem, okay, if you had a white politician overtly saying, hey, I want to appeal to white people, right, or white voters. Oh, and let's draw maps so that you can maximize white representation. That was never done, right? It's never tried. So again, in this case, right, the reason why Democrats, because other types of white Democrats won't vote for black men. And because of that, right, that makes it less likely the Democrats will be able to win. And max level withdrawal does not involve race. And that is why that's what a lot of people think if they do the voting like then the South is always it's going to be all red, okay? And that's what mainstream is doing. What I'm going to do, let's get it. Okay, so, you go back 6 months ago, you go back to April baseball, but what were we looking at? Well, we were looking at the Democrats with a very clear shot of taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives before they found the prediction work it out. We saw them in an 83% chance. But those odds have gone plummeting down. Now we're talking about just a 63% chance, while the GOP chances up like a rocket, up like gold, up from 17% to now a 37% chance. So it looks like a pretty clear Democratic win next year. It's become much closer to this point, although still slightly leading Democrats. What's changed? What do you think? Okay, what has changed? Well, why don't you take a look at the national picture first? Take a look at voters and how they're feeling about things. And we can take a look at the generic congressional ballot. And I want to take a look at comparison 2017, 2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. The first Trump term, that was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. Go back to April. Look at the generic congressional ballot. What you see? You see plus 3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see plus 3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happened? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018. You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, but things are likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same kind of picture. The bottom line is, it hasn't happened, but it hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They're all off the pace. Democrats were way out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead. But again, they are so far in the that they step back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this plus 3 going to be in that case? Well, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, the Democrats have made some progress. Right. They're clearly making no progress. Start that off. Again, the opposite. Making progress. It's talking about what how to do it, right? But Democrats are so bad that again, they are nowhere, right? Absolutely nowhere with Dr. Ray. The left believes that Democrats are making progress because they're not from the range. I think the opposite is that Democrats don't think the legal politics
Set the glory for death.
Right? I think that is the thing with Democrats.
Set the glory for death.
Slay it.
God, is what we experience over the past 4 years.
changed from that cycle is also the mid-decade ridiculous.
Okay, so we have that. Take a look at the right? They are
Your death will be as meaningless as your life.
Like the Cobra, Exiled, my fight is death.
Both sides max out at this point. There are more Republican gains possible than Democratic gains. Yes, the Democrats might try to counter the Texas and the California, but you go along to the different states, and basically Democrats are in a room where Republicans are able to gain and gain and gain. If both sides max out, we're probably looking at a GOP gain of +7 now. Instead of even taking into account the potential gutting of the BLA that is right now going to be in front of the Supreme Court. If you add that, you are
As the snake strikes, so do I.
Die, outsider! Death will be as meaningless as your life.
I will cut your heart out.
Joyous!
Set me glory in your death. Like the Cobra, Exile, my fight is death.
They're ultimately supposed to
As the snake. Set with cunning.
Right joy, slayer! Poxy balls! Die, outsider! Die, outsider!
I will cut your heart out.
Your
Set
death
your
will be as
glory in your
meaningless
death.
as your life.
You're addressing the presidency. But if you look at this is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they took it even further their way. Kansas, 1. New Hampshire, 1. Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans.
What the hell is he talking about? I mean, what state is half black? We only make up 13% of the population here in the country. What are you saying here?
That would represent that population as well. So, if that is vetted, Democrats could lose 19.
Like the Cobra, Exile, my fight is death.
The Democrat Party, yeah.
Could be a huge amount.
We do start at the Supreme Court in a monumental case that could transform federal elections for decades to come. Arguments in the case over Louisiana's conversion the state controls in such a way to ensure that minority voters are fairly represented. The two licensed singles who
Outsider!
justice requirements. This is talking, asking questions to ban states from considering race when drawing district lines. This is to Justice Kavanaugh in a case. He was questioning whether the country still needs provisions of the voting rights Act of 1965.
As you know, is that this court case in a variety of contexts has said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, for a long period of time, decades, in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint. And what exactly do you think the endpoint could be, of how would we know for the intentional use of race to create districts?
this ruling has the potential to undermine, if not completely overturn, the proclamation of the
Does mean it was his
British
way.
Blood Brothers.
As the stakes rise, so do
They're
I.
going to speak representatives from the brothers right now, and David Cameron. I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start by saying that you should start representing good for you. If you should look at other people voting in the party. That's process. I'll bring, what's that lady in California? James Brown. Yeah. What they call it, James Brown? What's her name? There is a GOP gun with one majority black That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. If that was written for what white people, you would call it racist. For us, black people, that is black supremacy right there. That is black supremacy right there. That is not. But it would I say get rid of the rest of that. But we don't need that. Black people represent us just fine. It combines Baton Rouge and New Orleans and that means that Shreveport, it would be a Republican seat. The current map is what you see on the right. There are 2 majority black districts out of 6. And what you also need to know is approximately 1/3 of the population of the state of Louisiana is black. So I want to talk about this,
Right, so you don't need that.
as you do so well.
Hey everybody, before we get back to this video, don't forget, got a new giveaway. Full wrapped up Broncos 2012. Get in the win for the official Hawks Sports stuff. Anything you purchase, like my Mifflin Blue, it's a pill and drop code. Get you automatically.
I think it's pretty safe to imagine where it was made. And up here, which is sort of gutting these the of the that would impact these kind of that will advantage for Republicans in living in a dirty and there's so many critical topics to this, and the way that the House of Representatives will look would be different in terms of numbers, also the way it would look in terms of race and representation.
It look different if y'all stop counting legal immigrants. Y'all been cheating twofold with this. These maps that was drawn to help black folks be further represented, though, that is unconstitutional. That is racist. And on top of that, with how y'all use illegal immigrants for the census to draw even more representation, it's just unfair. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Would be very different. And here, David mentioned Chief Justice Roberts, if you go back to 2007, one of the opinions that he wrote, he said, the way to stop discriminating on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on race.
That term's been hijacked, but it's been conflated with progressive.
And that is a lovely thought. And the question before the court is whether the United States of America is their name.
And
Yep, we
my
are.
question
course we are.
is the court, how do you find evidence that states, and of course it's down all the way down to local governments, but there's repeatedly evidence that race, black voters are not having different representation.
13% of the population. I think
Death
how much
will be as
representation did
meaningless
we
as
really
your
do?
life.
Y'all actually overrepresented. You look at the racial pictures, this is way more, it's more than 50% black
As day strikes, so do I.
Yeah, no, they're overly represented because these maps are their drawings. They're unfair towards white people. Yeah.
So even at that Louisiana map, when you're talking about a state where 1/3 of the voters are black, but that is not reflected in a lot of these governing bodies, particularly in Congress.
Great joy
And
of
we're
slaying.
involved
Your
in
death.
second majority black districts. So how do you now argue, well, yeah,
Die
less than
outsider!
likely in Louisiana are going to do the right thing? There's just not evidence of that. So it's
See, that's also a problem like in Charlotte, like what happened to that white girl that got unlocked on the train. And you see all these just black people being released when they shouldn't be released. They're dangerous and they're like a menace to society and they do horrible things to innocent people all the time because of this power that they have that they should not have. We're drawing these districts just to make it blue. We're just to represent black people. But look how black people vote. Look how they govern. They suck. Right. Not only what happened to the Ukrainian refugee here that came here, I mean, it happens way more often to black folks, which you never hear about it because it's black on black. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares. But when it happens to a white girl, then these things are brought to light how horrible black people are when they're trying to govern their districts. Yeah. Just fascinating.
And I know that there are a lot of people who say we're past that. We're past the Jim Crow era. We're past the era of just drawing back just the disenfranchised black people. But there is evidence, Black Voters Matter. They put out a really good primer on this case. And they talked about that there are, Republican operatives that were helping draw maps in multiple states that talked about using race as a factor in how they drew lines in certain states. So the evidence I know that there are a lot of people who want it to be, want it to be a certain way, but the evidence is not that the U.S. has got there.
Just we got a black president.
But in 65, the year of the Voting Rights Act, there were 6 black members of the House of Representatives, 0 on the South. Now, there are 59, 27 from the South. And before I bring you in on that note, I just want to listen to a little bit more of what happened in the Supreme Court this morning, which again, these arguments are still going on as we speak. Elena Kagan asked a representative who was arguing for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund what the impact would be to eliminate the Voting Rights Act provision that they're talking about.
It would be great for this country. Black people, like in the area that black people live. These places are like Gotham. You look at Memphis, Chicago, Charlotte, Baltimore. You look at these places when you leave black people to their own devices. And it's the crime rate. Yeah, sure they're represented more, but does that representation actually help black people? It doesn't. We're still the lowest when it comes to earnings. We're the lowest in every category in this country. That black representation has not served us with. I think white representation, I don't even care. Black people, the way they vote and govern, they cannot help the black community. So I just want smart people. I don't care what race you are. Right. If black people, when they're left to their own devices, if they didn't vote for people like Jasmine Crockett, I'd be like all for it. But that's who they vote for. Yeah. That's who they praise, applaud, celebrate. They love that woman. Yeah, that woman is detrimental to our country. Yes, they think she's a genius. There's people comparing her to Obama. Yeah, that's I mean, come on.
I think the results would be pretty catastrophic. If we take Louisiana as one example, every congressional member who is black was